Universal Music Group has pulled their entire catalog off of TikTok, and a lot of creators are wondering if trending sounds are dead and if it's even possible to grow on TikTok in 2024. This is a big deal because Universal represents 32% of all musical artists, including Taylor Swift and Drake, just to name a few. And using copyright music is a big part of the TikTok culture and growing on TikTok. And so far, I've seen a lot of videos talking about the impact on the musical artists, but I haven't seen anyone talking about how it's going to impact the creators like you and me that are trying to grow on TikTok. And that's what I want to talk about today. To cap things off, I want to talk about some of the new TikTok features and the things that they are doing to make it better for you to grow as a creator in 2024 and the types of content that you need to make in order to grow really fast. This all started when negotiations over music rights between TikTok and Universal Music Group broke down at the end of January, and Universal decided to just pull their entire catalog of copyright music so it could no longer be used on TikTok. This has a pretty big impact on content creators when you think about how we use popular music and trending sounds in order to grow on the platform. Now, all of your content that used music from UMG artists is going to say the sound is no longer available or sound removed due to copyright violation. And with the size of UMG, we're not talking about a small amount of music. Just look at some of the artists that are represented by Universal. You got Taylor Swift, Bad Bunny, Alicia Keys, Drake, Billie Eilish, Kendrick Lamar, Harry Styles, Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber. I'm just going through a few of them here. Elton John, Bob Dylan. There are so many artists. Music by many of these artists have been the foundation of the popular trends over the past year, and losing the ability to use this music takes away some of the fun, easy types of content that we all know and love creating on TikTok. Now, let's take a look at what UMG's lawyers had to say, and it was a lot. But some of the key parts, they had three big critical issues. The first one being the appropriate compensation for their artists and songwriters, protecting human artists from the harmful effects of AI, and online safety for TikTok users. At the end of the day, this all comes down to money, and we see that in this next section where UMG says, with respect to the issues of artist and songwriter compensation, TikTok proposed paying our artists and songwriters at a rate that is a fraction of the rate similarly situated major social media platforms pay. Today is an indication of how little TikTok compensates artists and songwriters despite its massive and growing user base, rapidly rising advertising and revenue, and increased reliance on music-based content. TikTok accounts for only 1% of UMG's total revenue. So their beef here is they're saying that TikTok is grown completely because of the music that they let them use. And since TikTok is paying a flat rate instead of doing a revenue share model, Universal is arguing that TikTok is not paying fair value for the music when you think about how much value the music brings to the platform in growing its user base. Now, I'm not going to read the entire letter from UMG, but one of the other points that they're really worried about is AI and how all the AI generated music and images that are kind of flooding the platform are going to end up hurting the artists, diluting the royalty pool so that they're not going to make any more money, and potentially they're going to be replaced by AI. And then going to more of the personal aspect, we saw leading up to the Super Bowl with these deep fakes of Taylor Swift, in compromising situations, and they're worried about that kind of AI content getting flooded onto TikTok, damaging the reputation of their artist. And really, a lot of this is all just typical posturing with negotiations where they're trying to throw everything out there, but I'm sure these are really valid concerns that they do have for their artists. Now, I do want to quickly show you TikTok's statement before we move on and talk about what this means for you. And I think it's funny that TikTok took a very different approach. It is just 3 very short paragraphs here. It's sad and disappointing that Universal Music Group has put their own greed above the interests of their artists and songwriters. And this is referring to the fact that in pulling all of the music off TikTok, they did not ask their artists if they wanted that. They just did it as a negotiating ploy, and a lot of the artists are upset about it. Despite Universal's false narrative and rhetoric, the fact is they've chosen to walk away from the powerful support of a platform with well over 1 billion users that serves as a free promotional and discovery vehicle for their talent. TikTok has been able to reach artist-first agreements with every other label and publisher. Clearly, Universal's self-serving actions are not in the best interest of their artists, songwriters, and fans. Since TikTok put out this response, Universal has actually come back and threatened to pull all the music that features their artists as well, removing even more music on the platform. And what we're really seeing here is these 2 corporate giants duking it out at the expense of these music artists and creators like us. And I get it, it's all about money. Everything on social media is about money. They want to keep people on the platform. Your content does well if it keeps people on the platform because it allows these platforms to advertise. And so they are concerned with maximizing profits, but at the end of the day, they're likely going to come to a deal. While Universal is complaining about the compensation that they're getting, and they want to get as much money and compensation as possible, TikTok also understands that these big music labels had no way to promote their artists before TikTok came along. The music that trends and goes viral on TikTok because of our content ends up driving a ton of streams on Spotify and Apple Music. This allows new artists to get discovered, and it allows older catalog artists to to get rediscovered by a new generation. At the end of the day, both of these companies need each other, and that's why I think that they're going to come to a resolution in short order. And it's kind of like when you go to turn on the big game on the TV and it says, "Sorry, we are in negotiations. This channel is not available temporarily." And you're all upset, and then it gets resolved like a week later. So it kind of ruins your day, but then they figure it out. And we have recent precedent that this is going to get wrapped up too, because last year, Warner Music Group, which is one of the other big labels, actually went through the same negotiating process with TikTok. Most of you probably don't even remember that happening. In fact, this week, Warner CEO Robert Kinkle, I think I'm hoping I'm saying that right, he basically came out and said, "Look, I know that it's hard to do these negotiations, but I'm confident they're going to get it figured out just like we did." The important thing for us to take away from this as creators is that we can't solely rely on this short form content that uses the trending sounds to grow on TikTok anymore. Luckily, TikTok's been making a ton of changes to help creators grow and make more money. From the introduction of longer form videos up to 10 minutes long, to the new landscape video feature, to the rollout of Creativity Program Beta, which is actually paying creators for eligible content over a minute long. TikTok is doing everything in its power to challenge YouTube as the platform for creators. That means that in 2024, we are likely going to see more emphasis on long form content of various types and less of a reliance on the short form trending content. And that doesn't mean that the 7-second video with the text on the screen and the trending sound is going to become irrelevant. It just means that you need to have a better mix of content types if you want to be successful in 2024. So let's dive into my predictions of where I think TikTok is taking the platform, a content plan to help you grow your account, and some additional steps that you should be taking to protect yourself from future changes on the platform. First, it's important to keep in mind that every move that a social media platform makes is about money, and in particular, advertising. These social media platforms want to keep people watching videos longer, that way they can serve more ads to them and make more money. And one of the biggest issues that TikTok and other short form platforms in the past have struggled with is creator compensation and giving them a reason to post on TikTok instead of another platform. And yes, TikTok does have Creativity Program Beta, but that doesn't pay as much as, say, the YouTube Partnership Program. RPMs on TikTok can range anywhere from 20 cents up to like $3, but most creators are making less than $1 in RPMs from their content. And if you don't know what RPM means, it's just a term that stands for like how much are you getting paid for your video to be shown to 1,000 people. So while TikTok creators might be getting a 50-cent RPM, YouTube creators are making anywhere between $5 and $20 for every 1,000 views on their content. To put that in perspective for you, I had just under $11 as my RPM on YouTube in the past 28 days. And that means that I made $2,037 from 194,500 views. The same number of views on TikTok with only a 50-cent RPM would only pay out $97.25. And to make matters worse, not every view is counted on TikTok, only qualified views, which is some mythical term that nobody understands the meaning of and is determined by a combination of like what are the real views versus bot views and how long did people watch the views, etc. And the end result is that up to 50% of your video views might not actually count as qualified views. So in order for TikTok to stay competitive with YouTube, they need to find a way to better compensate their creators so they will stay on the platform. And in order to do that, they need to have more ad placements and be able to attract more advertisers to TikTok. The first way that TikTok is achieving these goals is with the YouTubeification that we've seen on the platform over the last year or so. Things like longer form videos, more educational content, and this new landscape view video feature that TikTok's really been pushing. I'm actually going to do a deeper dive into this landscape video feature in an upcoming video, so subscribe if you want more details. And if you haven't seen this feature yet, TikTok is actually encouraging us to post landscape or horizontal video, and they're boosting our views in order to encourage us to do it. And when I first saw this feature in the feed, I thought it was a little bit weird because you see the video, it's really small, it has the big black bars above and below it, and then there's a little button you can click to transition it into full screen, and it really takes over your phone. And you can't swipe out of it either, you have to like physically cancel out of full screen view in order to go back to the feed, which is kind of genius because it's forcing people to sit and watch videos for longer, and it's going to allow TikTok to start doing mid-roll videos like we see here on YouTube. And if they're able to add more placements and get more advertisers, it should increase TikTok's earnings and allow them to build a stronger partner program with creators that's going to pay out more along the lines of how YouTube does. And I get the idea of having horizontal video on TikTok is a huge change from what the platform has traditionally been, but I don't think that it's going to completely take over and take away short form content. I think we're still going to see mostly vertical video, but we're just going to start seeing creators use this horizontal view more prominently over time. The other thing that TikTok is doing in order to attract advertisers is just cleaning up the feed. I mentioned earlier that one of Universal's complaints was that the rise of AI generated content was actually going to dilute the feed and end up hurting their artists. But at the same time, there seems to be this concerted effort by TikTok to clean up the feeds and remove duplicate or lower quality content. Reposting past viral content, which used to be a huge growth strategy for myself and other creators, is now frowned upon. And we're seeing this AI generated content, and the clips and highlight content that's already been used repeatedly is starting to get 0 views and be made ineligible for the For You feed. And yes, cleaning up the feed in this way is taking away one of our best tools for growing our accounts, but you don't have to repost your content. You can take your viral content and just remake it and take another shot that way. And at the end of the day, if they are cleaning up the feed, that way there's not junk there, then that means there's going to be more advertisers, and it's going to be better for us creators. It's going to be easier for us to stand out because there's less competition, and we're going to be able to make more money in the long run. I really think that all of these things that are happening are great for educational content creators. So I want to talk about how we can leverage what's happening on TikTok to get more views, more followers, and protect ourselves from any future changes. I mentioned earlier that in order to be successful on TikTok in 2024, you are going to need a mix of content types. There is still a place for the short 5 to 8 second content with the text on the screen and the trending sounds. You're just going to have a limited music selection until TikTok and UMG settle their beef. That kind of content is great for growth and virality. It's also easy to create and should be a tool that helps you keep up with the pace of posting 1 to 4 times per day, which is what TikTok recommends to be successful on the platform. Now, I've had a couple of you, including somebody this morning, that is saying
well, why would we be posting short form content when TikTok is so clearly telling us that, they're going to be pushing long form content?
And the reality is what they're doing is they're saying we want more long form content. And for Creativity Program Beta, we are only paying you for content that's over 1 minute. But that doesn't mean that short form content doesn't work. It just means it shouldn't be the only type of content you create. And so you can use that content to help stay consistent and to get exposure to a new audience, and then have your other longer form content to really build the depth with the audience and convert those people into buyers. And so if you haven't started already, you should also be creating longer vertical video that's going to be 30 seconds, 60 seconds, or over 90 seconds in length. Just keep in mind that these videos are not going to get big views early on because it's much harder to get the average view duration, that high amount of watch time you need to go viral the longer the video gets. But with this longer content, you can create a lot more value for your viewers and give them the ability to binge all of your content. You're also setting yourself up to get paid and have the longer viral content that's going to make you money from Creativity Program Beta. The one thing that you need to keep in mind is that consistency is vital for growing on TikTok. I know you've probably heard all the gurus say, you have to be consistent to grow on TikTok. But in this case, it's very important because TikTok has let us know through their official documentation that they have published for everyone to see about how the algorithm works. When you create consistently videos every single day for long periods of time, they start to give more weight to your content. And what that means is that if you post every single day without missing a day, the longer you go on doing that, the more views your videos are going to get because you've been labeled as a good creator and they are going to push you further and get you more views. So the more days you can string together, the more views you're going to get on TikTok. So make sure you're posting every day, make sure you never miss a day, and make sure that you're in that 1 to 4 videos per day range that TikTok recommends. We also want to start posting 1 minute or longer landscape video because TikTok has flat out told us that if we do that, they're going to give us more views. That doesn't mean you should start posting landscape video every single day, but it should become a regular part of your rotation. I would recommend posting landscape videos maybe 1 to 3 times per week for now, at least until we figure out where they're going with this feature in the future. The last thing that I want you to do is start building your email list. And this is crucial because your TikTok audience can disappear at any time. And we've seen that with the removal of music. They can do whatever they want with their platform. And you may have built the audience there, but you don't own the ground that your house lives on. If you're not careful, there could be an algorithm change that completely destroys your views. Or you could get banned and lose everything, even if you didn't do anything wrong. So it's essential that you start using your TikTok account as a tool to build an audience that's not tied to an algorithm. And an email list is the best option. With a strong email list, you can sell products or services, you can earn more from your brand deals, and you're able to give yourself a boost if you create other social media platforms in the future. And all you need to do to start building your list is get to 1,000 followers on TikTok. Because once you get 1,000 followers on TikTok, it unlocks your link in bio. And then you can use something like a stand store to build your list by exchanging people's emails for freebies that you create to help them with whatever it is that you do. But in order to get those first 1,000 followers, you need to start getting views. So I want you to watch this video next if you're stuck at 200 views and want to figure out how to get out of that 200 view jail.